Hello and welcome to 5 Minute Math. Today we are looking at solving addition and subtraction problems. This is 3.4a Readiness Practice Advanced. If you're interested in looking at the 3.4a Readiness Practice for the intermediate or proficient levels, or by exploring the other resources that are available in the Readiness Practice series, you can do so by using the link in the video description. So we have a school carnival, and we've got some tickets sold in the morning. We've got some tickets sold in the afternoon, and then 96 tickets were for the dunk tank. How many tickets were sold for other games? All right, so let's figure out our relationship between the first two numbers. We've got 278 tickets sold in the morning. So let's just write that down, 278. I'm going to make a strip diagram to organize my thoughts. And then 36 more tickets were sold in the afternoon than in the morning. So it doesn't say 36 more tickets were sold in the afternoon. It's comparing the afternoon with the morning. Well, how much was sold in the morning? 278. Which means for that to work, what I need to do is I need to copy down my 278 again. And then I'm going to add on 36 on top of that. Because it says 36 more tickets were sold in the afternoon than in the morning. So I need to repeat my morning, the 278 again, and then add my 36 on top. So that's how many tickets were sold. And then 96 tickets were for the dunk tank. So of whatever this is, right? So I need to figure out what this is, but I'm going to say that 96 for the dunk tank. And then how many tickets were sold for other games? So this is really what I'm looking for. I'm looking for this number right here. Other games. Well, first I need to figure out how many tickets were sold altogether. Well, let's take our 278 for the morning, and then the afternoon is my 278 again, plus my 36. So that's going to be 8 and 8 is 16. Add that 6 is 22. And then I've got 2 and 7 is 9. Add another 7 is 16. That's 19. And then that's going to be 5. So there were 596 tickets that were sold in all. 96 of them now were part of the dunk tank, or for the dunk tank. So how many is going to be for other games? Well, take a look what I've got. I've got my 596. And then I need to subtract the 96 for the dunk tank. So that makes a nice even. Look at that. 500. All right, so the challenge there was to figure out, are we adding, are we subtracting? In this case, we had to add and then subtract. So I'm going to just change that to my 500. Then I'm also going to write that as a statement. And I will just put that down here so we're clear on the answer. 500 tickets were sold for other games. So rather than just taking all of our numbers and adding, or all of our numbers and subtracting, strip diagrams help us organize our thoughts to know which operations we need. So we have a bakery here, and a bakery selling cupcakes for 4 weeks. They sold, well, it looks like week one, we've got 187. They sold twice the number of cupcakes in week two as they did in week one. What does twice mean? Well, twice means 2 times. So that means this is going to be 187 times 2. All right, let's keep reading. They sold 100 less in week 3 than they did in week 2. Okay, so that's going to be 187 times 2 and then subtract 100. Once we figure out that 187 times 2, we can replace both of those. And then if they had a goal of selling 2,000, how many cupcakes did they sell in week 4? Okay, so let's do this. Let's draw a strip diagram here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to say I've got a goal. It's 2,000, which means that's my total. And I've got 4 weeks right here. And I'm just going to label them and split them up in equal parts, even though they might not necessarily be equal. Week 1, week 2, week 3. Week 4 is what I'm missing. That's my unknown number. The only thing I really know right now is there's 187 in week 1, but they've given me clues for week 2 and week 3. Okay, so week 2 is 187 times 2, because that's what twice means. It means multiply by 2. So I can either multiply by 2 or I can add 187 plus 187. That also works. So that's going to be 14, it's going to be 16, that's going to be 17, and then that is going to be 3. Like I said, you could also do 187 plus 187, 14, 16, 17. You get the same answer. So they're both efficient. So I'm going to replace this 187 times 2 with 374. That's how many I have on week 2. Now, when you subtract 100, all we're doing is changing the hundreds digit. So I'm going to replace this 374, or this 187 times 2 with 374. I don't really need to line that up. I just need to change my hundreds digit to a 2, because 300s take away 100 is 200s. And so now I've got a more complete table, and I just need to figure out how much do I need to get up to that 2,000. Well, let's see what we have so far. I've got my 187. I've got my 374. I've got my 274. Let's see what that subtotal is. So 7 and 4 is 11. Add another 4 is going to be 15. And that's 8 and 1 is 9. And then I've got 2 4s that makes it 14. So 9 and 14 makes 23. And then that's going to be 3, 6, 8. So I've got 835 out of these 3 weeks. So let's just do this right here. 835 is kind of my subtotal. And then I just need to subtract that from 2,000. And we'll have our answer. So 2,000 minus 835. And we need a whole lot of regrouping here. I'm going to take 1,000, leaving 1. It's going to break it up into 10 tens. Take a 10, or excuse me, 10 hundreds. Take 100, leaving 9. Now that's going to give me 10 tens. Take a 10, leaving 9. That's going to give me 10 ones. Now I can subtract. So that's going to be 5, 9 tens, and 3 tens, 6 tens, 9 hundreds, 8 hundreds is 100, and then I've got that 1,000 left. So the question asks, how many cupcakes do they need to sell in week 4? So we can say they need to sell, write a statement. How many cupcakes? 1,165 cupcakes in week 4. All right, so for our third problem, we have a school library. They had a total of 200 books after a donation of 80 new children's books. Before the donation, half the books were children's books. How many children's books are there now? All right, so we have a school library had a total. So let's just start with that total. Let's visualize that right there, okay? So that's 200. After a donation of 80 new children's books. So really what we had out of that total, if we wanted to break it up, is we could say we had 80 new, I'm going to put CB for children's books, which means I've got that 200 minus 80, that's going to get me 120 other books. So what we have here is we've got 200 books after a donation of 80 new children's books. Before the donation, half the books were children's books. So how many children's books are there now? Okay, so before the donation, right? So here's what we have. The before the donation is this right here. Before the donation is this other, okay? And it says of that other, half were children. So what I could do is I can take this other and I can cut it in half. And I get children's books there, and then I get other. So there were 120 books before the new 80 new books came in, and of that 120, half of them were children. So I need to take my 120, either divided by 2, or think what plus what makes 120. And so if we cut 120 in half, right, we should be thinking that's going to be a 60 plus 60. When we're talking about half, we're cutting it in half. We're breaking it up into two equal groups, right? We can also think 120 divided by 2 equals 60. Either way. So that's a 60 and that's a 60. So my question is, how many children's books are there now? Well, look at the two children's books I have. I've got my 80 that I received new. And then before that, half of the books are children's books, which we just figured out was 60. So if we add those two together, I now have 140 children's books out of the 200. All right, so we will say there are now, and we'll say 140 children's books. All right. If you are interested in looking at the 3.4a readiness practice for the intermediate or proficient levels, or for looking at any readiness practice for any of the other standards, you can find those by using the link in the video description.